afternoon and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Beltug members. Especially on this beautiful summer day, we're twice as happy that you are here with us in this executive talk with Ann Wauters. Like in all of our Beltug sessions, we ask you to keep your microphone muted and your camera down. If all is well, the settings are that way that you can't unmute. You are quite numerous today, so we will only take your questions through the group chat. And I'd say grab that unique opportunity today to ask your questions to Ann. Use the chat and your question will be answered later on after Ann's talk. This meeting is being recorded and that recording will be published later on, so you can rewatch it, or the people that didn't make it to this session, they can rewatch it as well later on. It will be published on our Beltug website. Now you can be assured that will only be the shared slides, the sound and the video that are recorded, not the group chat and not the participants' overview. We intend to bring you an insightful hour of inspiration, as we always do at Beltug, but executive talks are a bit more special. And after her talk, approximately 30 minutes, your speaker for today, Ann Wauters, as I said, will be open to your questions and comments. So I'd say, again, grab this unique opportunity, and I do hope to read plenty of you in the chat window. My colleagues, Danielle, Levi, and myself, we will make sure you have a pleasant and agreeable session today. Before we turn to Ann, first I give you our CEO, Danielle Jacobs. Danielle, can I invite you to unmute your microphone and your camera, and the floor is yours.
So thank you, Anne. So welcome to you all also from my side. Since last year, bringing cohesion in teams became so important, even more important than before. And even Beltug, as an association of CIOs and digital technology leaders, received quite often the questions, can't you organize something about cohesion in teams and so on, which was quite new to us. And so that's why we decided to invite Anne, because in her role, the team, of course, is everything. Within Beltug, cooperation is crucial too. Our team is small, we are 6 people, but we cooperate with a lot of our members in the task forces on security, privacy, digital innovation and software asset management. We have now more than 200 members who are active and who cooperate there. We have the CIO cabinets that push us further and further. And when we write positions, then we need to have the view from people from different sectors with a different view, with a different background. And so there as well, it's a kind of cooperation. So let's say we have a lot of different teams, as probably a lot of you have too. So we are very curious to learn from Anne how we can improve ourselves and how we can make all these teams even better work.
Thanks, Danielle, for this introduction. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Beltug members, I present you our next speaker, Ann Wauters. Ann breathes basketball. She's a professional basketball player since 20 years now and has played in 7 different countries, 7 on 3 different continents. You obviously know her as the captain of our Belgian Cats, our national women's basketball team. And for the first time in Belgian history, this team has qualified for the Olympic Games and will represent Belgium in Osaka this year. And when not on the basketball court, Ann enjoys family life and is a mother of 3. She's also a fan of tennis player Roger Federer, and she prefers French fries, should I say Belgian fries, over pizza. Ann, can I invite you to unmute your microphone, open your camera that is already open, and share your slide deck with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on this beautiful day. And we must say we enjoy life a little bit better when the sun is shining. And I'm very happy I can share some of my experiences, some of my insights with you today. Like Ann already told you guys, I have been playing a lot of basketball in the last plus 20 years. Indeed, 7 different countries over 3 continents. When I look at the world map, I'm always happy I also played in Russia because that's the biggest country still in the world. But of course, it has given me a lot of experiences, meeting people from different backgrounds, getting to know different kinds of cultures, and also playing basketball in different countries. You always have to adapt a little bit because also the style can be different. Also, my experience, for example, in South Korea was very like eye-opening how different the culture was, and I've always enjoyed it. And I must definitely say, when I started to play basketball, this wasn't a whole plan in front of me, but of course, I took the opportunities, and I took the opportunities with my two hands. And I can say now that, of course, basketball was very important, winning titles, but also, of course, getting to know a lot of people, traveling the world was so beautiful, and it has been an amazing journey. So I think I can say that I also learned a little bit more than just scoring with a basketball. And of course, those insights I would love to share with you today. I've been successful quite a bit in my career, and I'm very proud. And since we are living in a virtual world, I thought it was good to make a virtual trophy cabinet. And also another reason, because my kids, they're starting to be at an age now where they really understand what I have been doing in the past 20 years. And they always ask, like, you always tell us, Mama, that you won a lot of titles, cups, but we don't see any cups in this house. And obviously, basketball is a team sport, so those beautiful cups, they stay, of course, in the clubs. And sometimes we get a little memory, sometimes we don't get nothing. Like, so it's a good, I thought it was a good idea to make a virtual trophy cabinet. I'm very proud, of course, won 4 times Euroleague, which you really can compare with the Champions League of soccer. A Euro Cup is then a European League, also a WNBA championship, where basketball is, of course, huge in the United States, and also bronze medal with the Belgian Cats. But that story I will tell a lot more later on. Also, of course, some other titles in different countries and some cups. But there is a but, a big but even. I've also lost finals, and that's something I really want to share also with you guys. There is never a success story without failing, without a lost final. And I can almost say that because of some of those lost finals, which I do remember quite good, I can almost say that I'm pretty sure I've won more afterwards by realizing, first of all, what I could have done better as a player, what we could have done better as a team. And it also, those moments are the moments maybe where I learned the most, where I could look at myself in the mirror, and they were tough, very tough, because I also remember those times of disappointment, of tears, of frustration. But those are the moments where you also are growing as a person, but also growing as a player, of course. So I think it's already an important lesson. And if you really think about it, it's impossible and only a success story. There is not one player that won all her games in any sports. So it's really good to know. And I think we can also make that little link to our other life, our daily life, that it's normal also sometimes to fail. And fail, then it's the first attempt at learning. If you learn something from it, then it's never a failure. Then it just becomes part of your success story. This is a quote that I always like to use in my keynotes because lots of respect, of course, for Nelson Mandela. But I think sport has a unique power because it's something that brings people together and it can inspire people. And that's why I think there are always so many links, so many parallels that we can learn from sports. And hopefully you can also do that today and actually think maybe it's something that I can use in my team. Maybe it's something that we do as athletes that I can also do for myself without being an athlete. So I think sports is definitely has a big power, and hopefully it can keep on growing and keep on changing the world for good. Today, of course, I'm also going to talk a lot about teamwork, and this beautiful story of the Belgian Cats is part of it. It's definitely part of a unique story because as kind of underdogs as a small country, we realized some big successes in the last couple of years. And I was really happy. You saw my trophy cabinet playing for different kind of clubs, from Russia to Spain, United States. It was amazing. And also it has given me a lot. But playing for your national team is still something different. And it might sound cliche, but it is. And that's why I also definitely want to share this story with you guys. Briefly, a little bit the timeline of the Belgian Cats. So yeah, I don't know if many of you follow basketball, but in 2007, I was already there. We played also a European Championship and we finished 7th. To be honest, that was a time I was kind of in my prime of my career. And at that moment, I kind of gave up on my Olympic dream. We were close because the first 5 could go to the Olympics in Beijing at that time, but we end up 7th. So not so far away, but still it felt like a world of difference to me. And at that moment, I kind of thought maybe it's not meant to be for me going to the Olympics, and it might be a little bit too hard for our Belgian national team. But then things changed. In 2015, there was a new head coach. He put a lot of pieces of the puzzle together, and he started something that I would say, first of all, he brought in a lot of more professional things. He brought that to the table. He had a staff on who he could count. And also as a team, there was, of course, also a younger generation with a lot of potential and a lot of talent that was coming up. And so he kind of asked me to come back because there was a phase that I stopped playing for the national team. And from the beginning, I felt something special in that team. So I was like, okay, let's see where that can lead us. Already a little bit more towards the end of my career, but I was like, why not? I can share some of my experiences with those young talents, and I had not too many expectations. But then as an underdog, we ended up 3rd at the European Championship, which meant we could go to the World Championship the next summer, which meant we could go again to the European Championship. And then in February, this seems like an eternity ago, it was pre-Corona times, we qualified for the first time in the history of Belgian basketball to go to the Olympics. But what a road it has been. And I will show you guys a little video of 3 minutes, because sometimes sports, it's good to talk about it, but even better to show some images.
It always seemed for me, or for Belgium, an unrealistic thing.
A dream come true.
So Anna and Emma were also there, and we were finally able to qualify for our first European. And then it started, the feeling of, okay, we can do something. Then we get bronze.
And then, you don't know if it's luck or not, or, if it's, you think it's a one-time thing, but then you have the World Championship and then, you do it again. That's where we really realized, I think, as a team, hey, we belong here. We belong to play against the best teams of the world.
Welcome everybody in to what is a very stormy coast of Belgium here in Ostend. The winds and rain ripping through the city. But this arena is jam-packed, sold out for a chance to see history.
We are just one game. We have just to make one step more. Only 40 minutes is the difference in between staying in Belgium or going to Tokyo next summer, all right? Everyone needs to be ready to do, even when it's just a small part of the job, we have to do a job, right? Let's finish it. All right, here we go. 1, 2.
5 to shoot now. Belgium gonna have to move quick. It's Alemán. She sees the clock. She'll tee up for 3. Elderbrink, she's alone for 3. And Sweden won't mess him in for 3. Big time shot, Emma Messiman. Hugs all around. Smiles that will turn to tears. Belgium is headed to the Olympic Games for the first time ever.
First of all, I think I want to thank everybody who's here, also the people who work behind the scenes, who got this here. In Ostend, you saw the atmosphere. And then I also want to thank you guys as the captain. It's pretty special to me, you know, to be able, to finish my career at the Olympics. It's also something that was a dream, and now I can't believe it. I can't believe that I can say that it's gonna come true. Like, dreams do come true.
Yes.
If you believe hard enough in it, if you work hard enough, maybe we can inspire a whole generation behind us. So it's quite special what we're doing here, and we need to really take this moment, enjoy the fullest.
Always lots of emotions, that's for sure. That's sports also. But there is also, again, a but. I have to tell you guys also the current situation. I'm giving this keynote now, and a couple of days I was completely in tears. I was completely shocked a little bit also, because the coaching staff had decided not to take me to the European Championship, but let me kind of focus only at the Olympics. To me, it was a big surprise, and I had prepared myself for a big summer and to also go to that Eurobaskets in actually in 2 weeks. So it was hard. It was definitely very hard, and that's something I have to tell you guys about it. It's still very fresh, but it's really there, and it's also a moment where I realize how much. How tough it is also, and how you have to be resilient, how you have to find ways to deal with uncertainties, with things that can change all of a sudden, with things that you didn't expect it. And it was a tough time, I admit, but at the same time, I also found a way to give it now another perspective, and to say, okay, this is the choice of the coaching staff. Maybe I'm not agreeing totally, but it happens in life. And I'm sure that you guys also already have been in situations where maybe somebody above you or whatever and in your team decided something else that you maybe weren't completely, that you didn't completely agree on. But still, you have to find a way to keep on moving on, and to keep on also motivated, to stay disciplined on your goal, on the task that is right in front of you. And that is something I think that is so much in sports. You always have to find ways to fight back. Like I told you guys in the beginning, there was never an athlete that has won all her games, never. So you always have to learn with how to deal with losses, how to overcome adversity. It can be an injury, but it can be a lost final. It can be not being selected. So it's definitely tough and challenging, I admit, but it's also something that can give you some power and say, okay, it's tough right now, I understand, but I will always try to stay focused on the goal. And my goal is still, and I'm 40 years old, going to the Olympics. So that chance is still there, and I'm still going to do everything what is possible in my mind to be able to go there. And of course, there are days that it's really tough on me too, and that I'm maybe struggling a little bit or even doubting, but I think I still find the power to really go for it. And then at the end of the day, even when the coach announced to me, like, okay, we're not going to take you to Eurobasket, which was a shock. But then when you kind of overthink it a little bit, you can't blame yourself anything, because you worked really hard for it. And sometimes the logic results are not there, sometimes there are. So I think it's something very powerful, and very powerful to really find the power in those adversity times to stand up again. And it's something that for sure we've all experienced also this past year, that the things were tough. And it's good sometimes also to talk about it with other people, and also to think like, okay, what can I do to still keep on going? I'm sure maybe some of you have been home for now a year and a half, not really going to any office. How can you stay connected to your team? always being behind the desk, never have to meet the other people, maybe even meet other clients or whatever. So it has been a challenging time, definitely. But I'm sure also you guys found ways to deal with it. And that's something that I definitely want to share also with you about being resilient. What was important for me also, and I realized it even more last week, is to have a social support system. A picture of me in my basketball clothes, but also as a mom. I'm a mom of 3 kids. I have a partner. I have some good friends. And in difficult times, you also can count on the people that mean the most to you. And I've seen that, I've experienced it, that it's really important to me also to have that balance. Becoming a mom and having to juggle between also having a professional career, it's not the easiest. Well, a professional sports career, it's not the easiest, but it's also struggles, I think, for you guys as maybe parents to have all and to have a professional career. It's all the different roles we have in our lives. It's not that easy, but to me, at least, it gave me balance. It gave me a lot of balance, and to kind of understand that, yes, I want to be ambitious, and yes, I want to perform at the best that I can on the court, but I can also come home to my family and be Anne as mom, and as a partner, and as a friend. So that is also, I think, very important. And I can feel it, especially in days, of course, where it's a little bit tougher, that I can count on them. But on the other hand, I hope I can also be there for a lot of other people, that also they can count on me. About that resilience, about having a social support system, is to me also grit. Grit in English, they have a good now like word for it. I don't think it really exists, or in Dutch, or it's stamina or something like that. It's also the power of the passion you have, and also the perseverance. It's easy to give up. It's so much harder to persevere. And there's, of course, a great TED talk about grit, but it's also that, I think, that you have to understand that sometimes when things do get a little bit tougher, that those are the moments also to still go on and still have that determination, even devotion, to keep on going. And for me, it's not different. It's definitely also something, if you want something really hard, I think you can deal with it. You can deal with the sacrifices you have to make, and you can definitely persevere. I think we can really learn from this situation, and also actually what athletes do pretty well, and I think you all can use it. It's win. Win here has a totally different meaning than really to win games, but it's more about what is important now. As an athlete, as a basketball player, I step on the court, I am there physically, but my head is there also. And I've noticed that sometimes in daily lives, it's sometimes hard also to always be in the moment. Sometimes you're thinking about what you have to do professional-wise, or the other way around, you have to work, but you're thinking about private things. So that is really important, to be in the moment. And it's the only moment you can really perform. And that is something what athletes do really well. They're really there where their feet are. Their mind is there. You have to focus on what you have to do on the court, because otherwise it's impossible to be at your best, to perform. You will get hit with the ball if you don't pay attention. So it's something that I think you can always use, also that little sentence. Really ask yourself, what is important now? Even within your job, if you have to go really in a concentration modus where you have to really think, or are you working on a project, and there's always those distractions coming in, phone calls, emails, WhatsApps, or whatever, it's not that easy to always be concentrated. So then you can ask yourself always that question, but what is important now? What do I have to do at this moment? What is really most important? And you can also use it in your private life. If you struggle to, and I know a lot of people now, especially without, because not a lot of people can go to the office. It's not clear anymore when the working day ends and when the free time starts. So it's not easy to turn off, like always right away, that button and say, okay, now I have to disconnect from work. I can relax and do something else. But then if you ask yourself the same question, what is important now? Well, maybe this is the time to rest, to recuperate, to relax and not think about work, and then be more focused when you have to go to work again. So something definitely that we can learn from sports. I would ask, but I will go a little bit faster because there's lots more that I want to talk to you guys. MVP in sports means, maybe some sports fans are here, but it means most valuable player. It's like the best player of the team, or when you win a final, they will say this was the best player, the MVP. I know in business, and I'm sure you guys will know this, it has a different meaning, and it's a little bit different. It's the minimum viable product in business. But right here, for me, MVP has a different meaning, a much different meaning. Mindfulness, visualization, and positive self-talk. 3 things that athletes do so well. The mindfulness of meditation, it's kind of what I've been talking about with that win. It's really being in the moment. It can also be moments where you really disconnect, relax, be doing exercises, because I really believe you can also train your mind. And another exercise is really visualize things. I visualized myself walking in the opening ceremony at the Olympics. I visualized myself making a winning basket. I've been doing this for more than 20 years. So the thing is, like, when you visualize yourself doing it, you're more prepared. You're just more prepared when it actually is going to happen. And I think you can all kind of also use that technique, because if you have to, for example, give a presentation and you're a little bit nervous about it, take a little break and visualize yourself. Maybe close your eyes even for a second and try to see yourself in that situation, how you will be, how you will act. And I think you'll be just more ready at the moment, and you'll feel more calmer when you actually have to do, for example, your presentation. And the third one, the positive self-talk. I think a lot of times we have that inner voice, that little voice that tells us if we can do it or we cannot do it. And a lot of times, and I'm sure maybe some of you are also, we like to be so perfect. We like everything to be high standards. We demand of ourselves so much. Athletes are not different, but they also are nice to themselves. They believe in themselves. They talk to themselves in a good way. And that I've noticed that sometimes we can do just so much better. Also be nice to yourself, believe in yourself, because if you're positive with yourself, you're going to start also believing more in it. Imagine if that inner voice always tells you, oh, no, you're not good enough. No, it's not going to work. It's not going to do. If you're always going to be in those negative thoughts, that is pretty hard to reverse that and to make it like a positive change. If you talk to yourself in a good way, and even sometimes be be compassionate with yourself, not always want to be perfect, then you're going to be able to be more relaxed and really perform better. I do believe in that. Like I told you, I also want to tell you guys a little bit more about our teamwork. The Belgian Cats, even though it was a hard time now the past couple of days, it's a story that has to be told, because it's a story with so much values in it, with a story that I really put all my heart into it. And I really believe even in the future, there will be a lot of success if we keep on working that way. The key elements, for me at least, in successful teams, and I've been in many different kinds of teams too, and sometimes successful, but like I said in the beginning, sometimes not successful. So to me, the foundation of a strong team is really having trust. Trust in each other, mutual trust, and it's something that is not that easy, but because it's not like a little present you can give, like, okay, I give you some trust. It's something that I guess in all relationships, it's really key. And you have to keep on working on it, in that trust, because a team where there is trust, well, you can be open, you can be even a little bit vulnerable, you can show yourself, you can really be open, and then you can be more, I think you can perform better. The second layer is how you deal with conflicts. I think it's crucial to see if, as a team, when there are some topics that are a little bit harder, can you talk about it? Can you really discuss about it? Can you even argue about it? Or is it something that we like to push a little bit under the table and we're gonna find the Belgian way, diplomating something in the middle and everybody is happy? Or is it something that you can really stand up for? No, I believe in this. And with your arguments, respectfully talking to each other. I think it's a key element in seeing if your team is strongly connected. If there is trust, I think you can definitely be more open and even tackle those difficult topics. The third layer to successful teams, in my opinion, also is commitment. When you're committed to a goal, it's so much easier. It's so much easier if everything is clear, what you're working for, the roles that are there in the team, and having that commitment even to engage yourself, you will do that little extra. Definitely in sports, it's so important because those little extra things you will do for the team, well, they will make the difference in winning or losing. And that is crucial in, of course, having a successful team. The next layer is to me, about responsibilities. If there is trust, if you can talk about tough topics, if you feel there is a commitment, if people are engaged in your team, then you can also start about responsibilities, talking about it, because it's so much easier than to take that responsibility, to hold each other accountable for it. And then there's high standards in your team. And otherwise, in teams that are not as good, and I've played also in teams where there was sometimes even where people were avoiding taking that responsibility, you will not be able to perform at your best level. And the third layer, the top layer, I want to say, is really always be result oriented. Always think in the team as first. Then you have to put away sometimes, of course, your ego, your status. Always think about what is best for the team. And that, of course, is a lot of times very complicated because we all are humans. We all have our own emotions. But if you can do that as a team, and of course, it's so much easier if there is that commitment, if there is clearly roles defined in your team, then you can always have the results, the team results at site. And that, I think it's also, of course, crucial in really becoming a high performing team. I want to talk together a little bit more, and without forgetting it, communication is always key. Always communicate. Sometimes I think for us too, it's very important to know different kinds of communications. On the court, it can be very short, strong messages because there is just no time. But then afterwards, sometimes it's also good, of course, to sit down and really communicate with each other how you also think about strategical things on basketball courts, how you feel, talk about emotions or whatever. But I think communication is definitely that important in any team. That first layer, when I was talking about the trust to me is very crucial, but it's also something not that easy also. You know, you have to work on it. With the Belgian team, they have been players that know each other from when they were really little. They've played in the youth together. But then at one point, of course, in a national team, there's even different generations coming together, and you have to find ways to really connect also with each other. And creating a culture, I think, with high standards is really the key also to build trust. Really demanding from each other, demanding from yourself, of course, to give your best, but also from your teammates. And what we've done is really also, for example, sit down with each other, nothing to do on the court, but for example, share your key moments of your career. And of course, that's easy because a lot of times we do like to talk about our successes, but we also had to say what were the moments that was the toughest in our career, and of course, why. And that creates, of course, right away, a deeper relationship with each other. Even though right now, especially we know each other quite some years, but still you can always find ways to connect with a person on a different level. And I think we do pay attention to it. And it's something that I could propose to you too. Why not? It doesn't take that much time, because a lot of times I get that answer, yeah, we don't have time for it. But I think you can, if you really want to. It doesn't have to take hours. It can be even 30 minutes. But if you really ask your team, share something that we don't know about you, share something what you did this weekend, and really be interested in the person. I think it will create something, trust. And I agree, you have to invest some time, but in the long term, I think it will be good for your team to function better. Another, like, this is more about the conflicts. I think in sports, something we do also pretty well is a feedback culture. Of course, we can get feedback on different kinds of ways. We can get immediately feedback. For example, here we're in a timeout during the game. It's a 1-minute break. We stop, the coach gives us some advices, what we're doing well, what we have to do better, and he can talk a little bit about tactics. So it's definitely a moment where we get immediate feedback. But there's also other ways. We also, for example, have video analysis where after the game, we're gonna look at ourselves. We could also look at the opponents and scout them. So, and what we also been doing with the national team, we give each other feedback. Sometimes that's also even stronger, because if it always comes down from head to bottom, it's not always the same. It's sometimes even stronger if you get some feedback from your peers. So it's something that athletes really demand, feedback. You know, we want to get better. You tell me what I have to do. And I've noticed that sometimes there's always two sides. There's somebody who's giving feedback, but there's somebody that is receiving the feedback. So you have to be open-minded. You have to have a growth mindset. You have to be able to see through it. And I must be honest, I've also had coaches that were not good at giving feedback. And sometimes I didn't agree on it. But if then you find a way to not lose your own, of course, ideas, your identity, but still find a way to kind of have valuable lessons out of it, then you can grow as a person, and you can only learn from it. So that is definitely important, to be open-minded and kind of try to get the valuable lessons out of any feedback you get. So something definitely that is not always that easy in teams, I've noticed, and to give feedback, but something that can help you grow, just grow and get better and be a better version of yourself. So for us too, it's something we constantly work on. The conflicts, like you can imagine, we are 12 different women. With the coaching staff, we're not always going to agree on everything. So of course, there's also sometimes conflicts. And if there's a way that we can handle it, I think it's a sign of a team that functions well. If, for example, on the court, I see somebody yelling at each other, not always, but it's a good sign too, because it feels like you trust the other person, that at that moment, you know, we didn't have enough time to really say it in a nice, polite way, calmly, but just to give a short message. And maybe later on you can talk about it. Sometimes it's even a good sign also. So it means there is trust also in that team, and then you can move on another level. I don't say you have to yell at each other all the time with your colleagues, but I think you can, in some situations, maybe you've also been there, maybe in pressure situation, in high demanding situation, you have to be short, you have to be on task. And I think that can work in teams where there is already a lot of trust. Talking about commitment, of course, what I told you in the beginning, playing for your national team, there is already a commitment because you're representing your country. But in other teams I've played in, sometimes I felt also a very high committed team, some team that would go through fire for each other, through fire for their coach. I've played, maybe there are some Turkish fans also, for Galatasaray. And when I started there, when I came to that club, I felt that there was also a culture there. It was really something bigger than only basketball. It was all the sports. It was a big rivalry with, for example, Fenerbahce. So you feel right away part of something bigger. So there is like that commitment, like, yeah, I want to perform well for this club. And when there is that commitment, then there is also accountability, like really holding each other accountable. It's something that we do really, I think, better and better as a team. You have a role, but if you're not good at it, I'm going to try to help you as much as I can. But I'm also going to tell you if you've not been doing a good job, like, hey, you told you're going to do this and that. I'm going to hold you also accountable, like I'm holding myself accountable. So it's something that we've been working on also, not always easy, of course, but it's always hangs together a little bit with that feedback, with holding each other accountable, and those teams usually they perform better. It's also about engaging emotions. I hear you thinking already, oh, it's easier, of course, in sports to engage emotions than maybe on a different work floor. Maybe true, but when you're emotionally also involved in your team, you will do that extra for your colleague. So you will do that a little bit. And that, I think, it's also, you can also find it in other work floors. And it's also about sometimes even celebrating small successes. We not only have to celebrate when we win the cup, when we win the championship, but also our small successes are worth celebrating, because then the process, of course, gets important. And it's the same, I think, on a work floor. If you can engage your emotions also with your colleagues, it will be you will benefit from it as a team, but also, of course, as a human being. For us, that positive mindset is key. It has been key for us for winning. It's part of almost our DNA with the Belgian Cats, because of course we have to confront much bigger countries where they can have just the amount only of basketball players is much higher. So you can already imagine that there are also a lot of good basketball players, and the selection is different. So we are a smaller country, so we have to really use all our talents at the fullest. And one of the biggest characters I would say that we have is being positive. That positive mindset, of course, it comes from positive psychology. It has been proven that, yes, we are negatively wired because of our survival instincts. And for every negative thought, we need 3 positive thoughts. So all that is proven. But I felt with our national team that being so positive, it's also contagious. If I'm positive, then the person next to me, I can involve them, and it becomes something like really as a unit, as a team. And then you have to believe in it. Of course, if you can't dream, if you don't believe in your goal, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen. So having that positive mindset has helped us winning crucial games. And it's also about being there for each other when things do get tough. It can be in a game, it can be whatever outside of the court, but really even more be there supporting each other when things are not going that well, because it's always easy to cheer when things are going good, but it's who is there when things are a little bit tougher. And I think we really try to do that for each other, like pick each other up. And then we've noticed that being that positive with each other, it gives us, of course, even more adrenaline. It gives us more things to believe in, but it also discourages our opponents because they feel it, that we have that atmosphere going on, and we're going to try to do everything we can to encourage each other and to be really there as a unit. And then it's so much harder, of course, to be the team than just individuals that are trying to do their best on a court. So it's definitely something that I would say is a key element of our success, like being positive. And for that, we started a hashtag also on our social medias, Dare to Believe, because you do have to believe in it first. and you have to dare also to believe in it, to that it can become a reality. When you talk about that commitment, yes, but then you can also talk about responsibility, different roles in a team. For example, with the Belgian Cats, we have a shared leadership team, and that has been working really well for us, because not all the pressure, all the responsibilities come on one person's shoulder. It's impossible to carry. That's just the beauty of course, a team sport. And it's definitely worth also to talk about it, because you have to use every member of your team at their strongest points. For example, Amal Meesman, who is an unbelievable great player and who's doing a lot for us on the court with her talents. Well, she might be not as vocal, so we cannot ask of her to always be there and also be the vocal leader. There's other players that are maybe more equipped to do it. And like that, I think we have different kinds of leaders, and that's why we call it the leadership team, because there's also different kinds of leader capacities or abilities you have to show in a team. Not everybody can do the same thing. That is the strength of a team, that every role has its own unique capacities, and bringing all that together, that makes it just so special. Of course, it's also about knowing your role. It's about that it's well communicated, that it's clearly defined, and it's about accepting that role. Of course, accepting it. It's not always easy, especially our Red Devils are going to start soon also. So everybody, I hope at least, is going to support them also. But you see that a lot of those players also have different roles in their teams, in their clubs, for example. And then you come to a national team and you have a different role. So it has to be clearly communicated and you have to feel good about it. But that's why all the other layers are important in a team to work well, because if there is no trust, well, it's hard to accept maybe a role that you're not used to. If you're not committed, no way that you can give yourself completely in that role. If you can't accept feedback, then it will be very tough also to fulfill that role at the best you can. So I think everything is connected, but I think it's also something key to be high performing. The last block, of course, was being result oriented. Of course, you always have to have the goal of the team at first, and that is sometimes really hard, because you have to sometimes put your ego aside, put your status aside, and being there for your team, being happy for each other. Like even when your teammate is going on the court and you have to sit on the bench, being happy for her, like wishing also that success for them. It's also very, it's not always easy, but I think the teams that function the best, they can do that for each other. And it's even more than this. Here we go literally thank our fans, and we have missed them a lot. It's really, really strange to play in an empty gym. That little extra that you would do in a game, well, it's hard to find that adrenaline going. So we look so much forward to be able again to play for fans, for supporters, for our family, friends. But here, it's about being connected to other people. Of course, it's our goal to go, for example, to the Olympics. But it's also sharing that dream with a lot of other people, and at the same time even maybe inspire a lot of other people. I'm 1.95 meters, that's true, and maybe I had the talent to play basketball, but I've worked also really hard for it, and I'm nothing special. Like if you also believe in it, in your dream, you can do it. And that's not something, I think, the message we want to give to people, that if you really work hard enough, if you believe in it, you can also, of course, achieve your dreams. And that's definitely something we want to do, and inspire generations to really go for their dreams and try to accomplish them. And that's about having even a higher purpose than just your own kind of personal and team goal. It's really having that purpose to know, like, okay, I'm playing basketball, but maybe I can also be an example for maybe a young boy, a young girl that is also trying to figure out what they are gonna do. So I think it's something that maybe we're not always realizing it while we are playing and while we are really in our career, but maybe because I'm already a little bit older, I've been thinking about it, and I think I see it that way, that we definitely can be kind of role models and also inspire lots of other people. So I want to kind of finish with this picture. That young kid was so proud to wear for the first time her jersey and to go and play her first game. Well, that kid, well, she's still dreaming of the Olympics. And I know there have been some obstacles, definitely, physically, lately now also mentally, but I'm still going to try to be there at the Olympics because that was my dream. And I really would love also to see you guys going fully for your dreams, because I do believe that dreams do come true, even though that is very cheesy to end. But I'm very curious to know if you guys have any questions for me, if you can relate to things that I've been telling you, if you can see that in your teams, maybe you're struggling with something else. So be free, be my guest. I will definitely take some time now to answer some questions of you. Thank you.
Most questions are about your personal ambitions, so I will start with a question that comes to the speech. So Aaron Lex asked, how do you recommend opening people up to conflict when in the past they have avoided it at all costs? So they're talking about it, but what about pushing people into conflict? So I really can understand this.
Yeah, it's definitely something, especially if there is a culture where you kind of avoid the conflicts, it's not easy to change it, definitely. But I think with small steps, you can. And think about it. If you sit with something, maybe even on a personal level, and you don't really talk about it, and you keep it on your chest and you keep sitting on it, and it doesn't give you a good feeling, right? And if you then finally find the courage to really talk about it, it usually is like, okay, I told it. I know now, like the other person, they know now how I feel or what the topic might be. So usually it's something good that happens afterwards. So it's definitely, I think, on a professional level, also with conflicts. I think if you really sit with something, you have to find a way to still have the courage to talk about it and even encourage it. I think, especially if you guys also are in leading positions in different companies, I think it's something that you can build on. I think it's a culture you can build on, and like really motivate people to talk about it, and in a constructive way, not just to argue, but finding solutions together. And I think you will find that your team will become stronger, even though maybe at the first it will be a little bit confronting, like, oof, we're not used to this. But in the long term, it will definitely help your team perform better.
Okay, thank you. And so Jan Murray, would like to know what ambitions you have to become a future coach.
Well, I must say I like to share my experiences. So I see coach as a big term, of course. There can be a basketball coach, but it can be also more a coach like I've been doing now, sharing experiences with other people. In all honesty, I love, of course, my passion is still basketball. But to become a basketball coach, I think I have to really complete my career to really know if I want to do it, if I want to step into kind of the same life. I think I need, at this moment, I would say I need a little bit different triggers for me. I love to share my stories with different people, with companies, because I also learn from you guys. The questions you're asking me, then I start reflecting on it. And I have preparation calls with you, so I try to understand how the teams work, how you guys work. So to me, that's also very interesting to kind of find out also in a corporate life, different things. So I'm not completely sure if I will continue in the basketball world. definitely sports world stays close to my heart, so that's for sure. But not completely sure if I will fulfill like a really basketball coach role.
Okay, we'll see what happens. So Koen Muizenwinkel asks, there's quite a difference between individual sport and team sport. So what to do in a team when someone more focused in personal success instead of being about the success of the team?
Yeah, that has happened. For example, also in the Belgian team, there was a young player with lots of potential, a lot of talent. And if you just purely look at her abilities on the court, she has her spot on the team like right away. And still, it has been a difficult story. And it's after giving her a lot of chances also to really become in the team. The coaching staff had made the decision to not call her anymore because her values were not the same as the team. And I think that's something that our coaching staff has been doing really well. And us, I think also as a team, we want to protect those values really well. And if somebody is there to really think only or in the first place about themselves, then it's going to be tough. Then there is no fit. And then sometimes you have to make a hard decision. And like in our case, for example, with that young player, she wasn't part of the selection anymore.
Okay, Michiel Vallée has a question who is a little bit, more of the same. So how to know if a certain team culture and spirit could grow in a person? So, or if the person just doesn't fit with the team?
Yeah, that's true. I think it can grow definitely. I think you have to give people also the chance to adapt, to feel also integrated in a new team. And of course, that doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time also. But I think people can definitely learn to become also part of a team. And it's not because maybe in another team or in another professional life, you have to focus really on your own results, that you cannot learn how to become a good team member, I would say. So I think definitely you can give those people chances to integrate the team. And I think if there is a culture, if you know really well what you stand for, if the values are clear, then it's easier also, of course, to know also as a new member, like, okay, those are the standards here. So I have to kind of also conduct myself on those moral codes or I won't fit in. So I think the more clear your vision, your missions are, and the values you have as a company, as a team, the easier it can be also for other people to integrate.
Okay, so now we go to some more personal questions. So Emmanuel David asks, well, Roger Federer, he decided to stop this weekend in Roland Garros. So what do you think about it? He must have the same age as you, more or less, I think.
Yeah. I know, I respect him so much. First of all, it's been more than 50 years. I follow him. I met him once, so maybe that has something to do with it. But now the way he plays tennis, the way he acts, I think it's just so respectfully, and I love his professionalism. And also what I see in Roger Federer, he has won, I don't know, 20 plus Grand Slams, but he's still at his age, and maybe in that way we're the same generation. He still loves the game so much. He could have said already long time ago, enough for me. I'm gonna go back to Switzerland, enjoy another type of life. But he still has that passion for his game, and that I think it's just admirable. Now, so he won. I know I saw that in Roland Garros, but he decided it was too much, I think, for his knee, because he also had 2 knee injuries. And then I think he thinks a little bit more about his personal goals, that he has a better chance maybe to recuperate now from a heavy game 2 days ago and prepare himself for Wimbledon, which we all know he's even better at than Roland Garros. So I think he's going for that. So I can understand that his choice was more an overthought choice and professional choice of knowing his body really well, like what he can handle and what gets a little bit tougher at his age.
Yeah, probably. Thank you. So the last question from Wim Bartier. So he's curious to find out how you see the role of the coach, because when you saw the timeline of the Belgian Cats, so what was the impact having a new coach on board?
Huge. I don't want to. It's always in a team. I don't want to put all the responsibility there, because as a team you also have a lot of things you can take in your hands and really be responsible for. But of course, a coach is crucial. And for us too, Philippe Messa, he has put the team together. He found a way to put different generations together. I'm by far the oldest, then there's some younger players, then there's a mix of everything. And we had a good connection, that's for sure, right away. But he stands also for the team. And I think that his biggest value, he does it also with his coaching staff. He lets everybody have his own role. And a lot of coaches sometimes tend to control everything and want to decide on everything, even on the topics where they're not experts. So that is something I think he's done really, really well, giving everybody the responsibility and still stand for, this is the type of basketball, this is the type of team we are, this is how we're going to play. And also I think he has brought a lot of stability, which is also, I think, important in teams.
Many thanks for your talk today. As I said, I found it highly inspiring, and I'm convinced our members share that idea. As always, Danielle already mentioned it, we are a small team. However, never hesitate if you have questions for us, you have suggestions about, well, ICT and the barriers you face, or an initiative we can take. Never hesitate to reach out to us, drop us a mail, call us. We love to talk to you. There's my colleagues, Danielle, Annick, Levi, Christine, Kirsten, and myself, who love to talk to our members. And for today, enjoy the rest of the evening, grab a bit of sunshine, and looking forward to see you soon. Thanks to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you also for being here, for listening, and thanks for having me. You could definitely connect with me on the social media if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.